You spoke about, your perseverance for the league, and you detailed it in your Players Tribune article. I think it was great. Like, anyone out there always loved the Players Tribune of seeing the athletes open up, and like you wrote it, you said your story. It wasn't just a physical toll. You mentioned the injuries to your body, but like the mental health battles that you had throughout the league. What was that like trying to figure that out? And it was before the resources are what we have today, where
Right.
you can speak open about it. Where it was where you were, 8, 9 years ago, you can't be as open about therapy. You can't be as open about dealing with anxiety, depression, anything. So what was it like trying to navigate that and figure it out, and for you to finally find your solution where you felt better and you were treating yourself and looking out for yourself?
Yeah, man, it was a hard thing for me to do. Going through it, kind of not knowing what it was at the time, why I felt certain ways, understanding my anxiety, understanding what depression is. I there was days where, I didn't even want to leave my bed. Like there was a lot of, hard days. But to put in the work to, get my mind right, how I view life itself, my focus level, not relying on certain things to, be happy, figuring all those and getting those answers and kind of looking within myself and being like, what makes me happy, and how am I going to, make decisions and make choices in my life to benefit, kind of my happiness, without being detrimental to myself, right? Like, so I think, understanding those answers, finding out those answers, and, being able to, just understand myself. It was a long process, but eventually getting in on the other side was great. And I felt I felt like once I figured that out for myself, I could kind of see it in other people, right? I could see that anxiety and I could see that depression, in other athletes, and I was like, man, like having these conversations with them, trying to help them out, it meant a lot to me, especially when I was able to get through to people.
Mm-hmm. What changed? Like, obviously there's going to therapy and taking those steps. But beyond that, like you could go to therapy once a week, you can go 7 days a week or once a month, but there's those changes you have to make every day and like all your choices. What changed for you that helped you a lot?
Well, I think, like I said, understanding myself. I think that, I would try to, make choices that would make myself happy in the moment. But then, I look back at those decisions, whether it's a week or a month from then, and I'm like, man, I didn't like that. Like, I just try to fill a void that I was feeling, right then and there. And that was, those thoughts were led by, anxiety or depression, and just trying to fix myself at the moment instead of taking the long route and being like, this isn't just an on and off switch where I can just, fix myself, in a day. It takes time. It takes effort. Like you said, it takes, some therapy. The therapy was big for me. Meditation, all the things that, I did to, really, really try to get help and understand, what was going on. It was life changing for me.
Did you notice it? And you said it, you saw it in your teammates, you saw it in players. Once you got to the other side and, took care of your mental health and you were feeling better mentally, did you realize how you weren't the only one and how common it is for just across the NBA alone?
Yeah. And especially when I put out that Players Tribune article, there was so many people that reached out to me and were like, man, like I felt like I was writing this myself. Like I've had all these feelings, and so many people came up to me or DM'd me or wrote me, emailed me, or like, man, I have mental health issues, and your article was special because I could relate, and even seeing other athletes go through it with my own eyes and me figuring it out, I still didn't know how much it affected the amount of people that reached out to me.
How important was it when you got to Orlando? That's what helped. How candid, how transparent were you able to be with like the franchise, the front office on what you were dealing with?
It was hard because the league's a tricky thing, man. Like I didn't want to go in there, and I was new to the team. I just got there, but the therapist on the team was big for me. And obviously everything that between me and the therapist is confidential, even with the team. So it was great that the organization provided that, because that really helped me. And it's tough. It's tough to be open, right? Like, and at that time, I still wasn't comfortable with talking about it. But yeah, having him helped me a lot.
And that's what I think of. people have their bad days and someone's dealing with something. For you guys, for NBA players, for pro athletes of any sport, it's so tough because in the NBA, you have to be on 82 nights a year, let's say, minimum. So what was it like to deal with that? And then also you still have to watch out for your public perception, if that makes sense, because that's what I think of when an athlete goes through, everyone's like, you're making millions. Like, what can your issues be, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or whatever. You're playing a game. How bad can it be? But there is that pressure from the outside. There is that you always have to be on or always be, right when you're on the court, when you're walking into the arena, when you're in your day-to-day life, because you're an NBA player. Can't go to the corner store, get a bottle of water without someone recognizing you.
Right.
So did that have a toll on it? Just like overall too, like when you're dealing with it, it's like there wasn't just that escape of like, all right, I could go to my job and escape. It's like, no, my job tonight is playing in front of 20,000 people.
Right. Yeah. And it's tough, no matter what you say, when people are watching you, there's a level of anxiety or worries, that come with that. It's just a natural build of a human being. Right. So if you have to perform 82 games, 82 times in a year, and you're going through things off the floor, it's hard to keep that shelled. So, people can see that. And in the game we play, we're judged for it all the time, right? Like if you have a couple bad games, the game is fleeting. You have 10 bad games, people say you suck. If you have 10 good games, people say you're great. So it's hard. You're constantly judged on your performance, no matter what you're going through off the floor, family, friends, death, anxiety, depression, like no matter what it is, people are going to judge you, and that's the name of the game. I'm not saying that, there's definitely a perception to it. We have tons of perks in life, but that doesn't mean, things are easy. So it's tough at times.
Does it feel good, like when you wrote that and put it out there? Because I'm sure like your teammates knew about it, but like for the world to know, and also that's big for just pro athletes in general. Like you show you're going through it. I know obviously Kevin Love's a big advocate for mental health. Same with DeMar DeRozan. There's guys in other leagues as well. Was that big when you wrote that, put it out, the Players Tribune article went out, to see the feedback you got? And then also, again, it's, even though we're in 2024 now, like breaking down that stigma of like mental health's health. It's not mental health. It's not physical health. It's health.
Right. It's health. Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, taking care of your mind is just as important as taking care of your body, if not more important. So when that article came out and I did get the feedback that I got, like it was great. Like it meant a lot to me. I didn't know what kind of feedback that I would get back. I'm sure that I had an idea of people, reaching out to me and saying, I didn't know you were going through that, blah, 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 you know what I mean? But I think, the relatability that I had with a lot of people, that's what meant a lot to me. I was like, man, at least they know that they're not the only ones out here. And, maybe they are, maybe now they have the confidence to go get some help.
Yeah, I think it's, because people would see the amount of games you played per season. They're like, oh, Michael Carter Williams probably dealt with injuries like body. But it was on top of the injuries you were dealing with, where something you dedicated your life to since you were in high school. And all of a sudden you see like your body's not allowing you to perform at the level you want to. Then the mental aspect comes into it. So there's more than there was just like the physical toll, it was like the mental toll at that point. Where I bet a lot of people like kind of wrote it off of like, oh, injuries, body, it happens in the NBA. But it's dealing with so much more.
Right. No, it is. It's dealing with so much more. And even the injuries itself, it plays a mental game on you, right? Like you're telling your mind is telling your body to do something that your body just can't do, right? So I would be out on the floor and I'd be trying to do something and I'd be like, man, like there's no way that I know I could do this, or I know I could get this loose ball, but like my body's just not letting me. And that's a mind game in itself that, is stressful. It's like, you can do something, but your body's just not letting you do it. It can drive you crazy. What's
the advice you would give to any athlete, any level, that is dealing with like the mental health issues or battles themselves?
I would say, get help. I think therapy was a big thing for me. Recognize what you're doing to try to help yourself. What mechanisms are you using on a day-to-day basis? I would say get educated on what you're going through, right? If it's anxiety, get educated on anxiety. If it's depression, get educated on depression. Get to the root of your issue. Don't just try to cover it with a Band-Aid. And, I think that's what, as soon as I stopped doing that, that's what helped me a lot.
I feel like it was tough too. When you were coming up and coming through the league, that's when social media was really like booming. Instagram, Twitter, all a big thing. I feel like that add to it too, because it's the same thing of really it's 24/7 now in the public eye. And there's putting that perception out. You post a picture smiling, people think it's all good. Mm-hmm. They find out about your mental health and they like, look, like I didn't know you were dealing with that. But I feel like also navigating, figuring out how much social media is healthy is a big part of that too.
For sure. I mean, yeah, I think people try to hide behind social media.
Yeah.
They try to pretend like things are going well when they're not. Yeah, and it's in a way, it's a false sense of reality, like you said. Like, you know, social media gives the platform for anybody to say anything about you. Gives people a chance to, you know, hide behind their issues, and you know, life's not like that. You know, and as soon as, you know, us as a nation, you know, kind of recognizes that, you know, I think, you know, things will be better.
Yeah. For like what I do, same things, public perception, not to the scale that pro athletes are on, but like post on Instagram, post on Twitter, whatever. And some of my friends I work with are that in the industry, like they tell me like I read every comment, and I tell them like you can't do that. You can't give like life to these people that you don't know who they are. Some of them don't have their names or faces on it. And that's a big thing of like just knowing what's real, what's not.
Yeah, no, I've definitely fallen victim to that as well. You know, I mean, it happens to the best of us, but yeah, you know, you can't sit there and read every comment and try to, you know, take everything serious. Like, it's just, people are going to say what they're going to say. They can, like I said, they hide behind, you know, social media accounts to, you know, release stress. I don't know, whatever the reason people go on Instagram and decide to heckle people or be mean or whatever. Yeah, but, you know, staying away from that is the best thing you can probably do.